What is up, guys, and welcome to another F1 22 video. This time we are at Brazil. Last time we were in Mexico, and yeah, it was a pretty good race, all things considered. If you haven't watched it, I suggest you either go back and do that or close your ears now if you're going to watch this one first, because I'm going to be referencing it repeatedly. We finally got points. We finally got points on the board. We got a 5th place, which was good enough to give us 10 points and jump us up to 9th in the constructors standings. So yeah, we've got a lot of money off the back of that if we can hold on to this P9 in the constructors championship for just 2 more race weekends now. But we're going to be under an immense amount of pressure from Williams and Aston Martin, who both are just 2 points behind us. Currently going through, looking at some things that we could potentially upgrade. Going to potentially look at getting some more resource points by improving our second driver's experience stat, even though I have no intention of hiring an experienced second driver. I'm definitely going to hire either a rookie or someone who I've already had driving for me. It's not going to be anyone who has had a full season in Formula 1. This much I am certain of. We have got a couple people retiring at the end of the season. I don't remember who they are. I believe Vettel is one of them, which obviously is accurate to what did happen in real life. So he will probably be replaced by someone. If this were real life, it would probably be, well, I guess it would be Alonso. But if it were a rookie coming up, it would probably be either Piastri or Drugovich, I imagine. But because Lundgaard has that experience in F1 now, it is most likely going to be him that will be the first to be promoted. Along with, if there is 2 retirements, which I'm not sure on that, it could be Schwartzman, another one who gets signed to one of those teams. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I'm still not decided. But if we accept this offer to improve his acclaim by 1250, maybe the decision will be made for us on whether we'll be re-signing him, because soon he's going to be level 10, and I believe that means that renewing his contract is going to cost us $3 million. And it gets to a point where you have to ask yourself, is it worth it? Is it worth re-signing someone who's going to cost that much? And for the results that Schwartzman gives us, I don't know if the answer is yes. I'm willing to give him more time to improve. I've seen other people's saves where Schwartzman is a championship contender at a top team, and therefore I'm reluctant to get rid of him like that. But he's not had the impact yet. We've upgraded our team acclaim somewhat, which is going to be good. We're getting close to level 15, and that means signing another sponsor. And now we're ready to quote-unquote get into the Pirelli Hot Lap. And the reason I say quote-unquote get into is because obviously we're just going to speed through it like we always do. I believe we did a drift challenge, and at the end here you see that we did get the gold by quite some margin, so I was pretty happy about that. That's another 1,000 acclaim in the bank. I can't remember if it's team acclaim or personal acclaim. Either way, it all adds up. It's all worth it. So yeah, I was very, very happy to see that. I think now we're just having a look through. We're looking to see if I could see exactly how close we were to level 15, and just making sure that 15 was the level at which we get the sponsor. One thing I didn't realize is that between this year's game and last year's game, they've clearly upped the final sponsor requirement to team acclaim level 25, which is unbelievable in my opinion. I don't think it should be that high, but maybe that's why they're the game developers and I'm not. I think 20 was high enough, to be honest. But then again, in a season we have made it to 15, so maybe I'm wrong. Now we're into the race weekend proper. We've had 1 development update come through and 1 fail, so we're definitely going to still be on the bottom of the order by quite some margin. But we are making gains on the people in front of us, and maybe with a little bit of a reset that's going to come with the regulation change, perhaps we can just about get into a place where we're starting to compete with them. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that. If you're wondering what that cut was there, I'm sure you probably saw it. It was just because I was putting the settings that were the sort of like the pit stop settings that were on broadcast before. I'm putting that back on immersive. So yeah, you will see if I do a pit stop in these races, it will be the kind of the immersive press the button to stop. I just skipped through all of that practice session. Nothing particularly remarkable happened. We just had you know, I didn't really feel like the pace was as bad as it looked, but we were on the medium tires and there were a lot of people on softs, so perhaps that's got something to do with it. And yeah, I mean, that was pretty much all there was to speak of regarding that. And now we're ready to get into qualifying, because it is a sprint weekend, so we do one practice session and then we go straight into qualifying. I don't really know how I feel like going into this. I think we have the potential to do quite well. Brazil is usually one of my stronger tracks, but obviously when you got a car this poor, even one of your stronger tracks, you're only looking at like barely making it out of Q2, I would say. But I guess we'll see what happens. And with the penalties that usually get applied at the end of the season, we could, if we find ourselves qualifying P16, we could find ourselves quite comfortably starting in the top 10. So here we are at the end of our first, I believe this is our first lap of Q1. We've got a little bit of traffic ahead of us in Albon, but he's not so far ahead. Really what he's doing more is towing me, so this is quite good. We actually go fastest of all the people who've gone so far, ahead of the likes of Hamilton and Ocon, so that was quite nice to see. But we are in P9 come the end of the session, and we're going to need a little bit maybe to improve. We don't really need it probably, but it's nice to improve by a couple tenths to secure that. And in the end, we make it through to Q2 in P10. So that was very encouraging signs. I was at this point, I was thinking, oh, I'm definitely going to get like 16th or something like that. So to get P10, I was thinking maybe if I can have a good performance in Q2, maybe Q3 is on the cards. However, there's a lot more factors at play than that. Obviously the AI are going to ramp up significantly between Q1 and Q2, and again between Q2 and Q3. So I'm going to need to myself ramp up my performance. We go out first on a set of used soft tires. I think we only have 4 sets of softs to use across all of qualifying, so I'm trying to be economical with them. I used 2 in Q1, and that means I'm going to have to start on a used set. We're 1/10 slower than Schumacher at the moment. This is a 108.9, which was significantly slower. But now we're on our fresh set for our second run. You see that we're 6/10 up on the time that we set to begin with, and still improving all the time. We're in 14th. Will it be enough to get ourselves out of Q2 into Q3? It will. Let's go. Yeah, so that is P10, and we're into Q3. 2 P10s in a row. I think I'm pretty confident of where we're going to be qualifying in this race. We were actually only 200ths off Alonso and only 400ths off Ricciardo, so our qualifying pace is looking pretty good in comparison to these guys'. But it's still all to play for. But the fact that we're in Q3, in the knowledge that penalties are going to get applied to a lot of drivers, that is very encouraging to see. I think we're in with a really good shot here. So here we go now, and we're into Q3. This is the first of the 2 laps that we do in Q3. As you can see, Hamilton has just set the fastest time. He's into the 107s. We're on a used set again, so I think getting into the 107s is optimistic. So 108.6, significantly slower than the time I did at the end of Q2, but it's to be expected. These are the same tyres we did that lap on. And now we're on our set, our second out lap of Q3. And I'll show you the full final lap that I did in qualifying, and you can see how things went for me for the final run of qualifying. Already we're losing time compared to where we were on our used set, so that's not great, but we did have a better exit from the center S's, which means we've managed to gain some time back on ourselves. And yeah, we're about even through the first sector, but as we go through the corners, especially through the sort of twistier sections, you would expect me to make up quite a bit of time, because obviously the tires are fresh, they have a bit more grip. That's what you would hope, at least. So far it doesn't seem to be ringing particularly true. We've only made up, what, like a tenth, and we're probably about halfway through the lap, I'd say. 2 tenths up as we come through towards the final sector now. Got a few more corners before we're officially in the final sector, which is essentially a corner and a straight. 3.5 tenths is a pretty good improvement. We'll see how we are compared to Alonso. 600ths ahead of Alonso at the moment. Actually make that 800ths ahead of Hamilton. But obviously the final sector with this engine is where I'm going to be suffering the most. I shouldn't suffer that much in comparison to Alonso because he's got the same engine, but I still think I will. And across the line, it's a 108.1, and it ends up being good enough for P9. That's a pretty good qualifying result, all things considered. Every time we make it into Q3 in this car, it's a miracle.
It's time to remind ourselves once again of our top three: Leclerc, Norris, and George Russell. Goodbye for now then, but really we're just getting started. Make sure to join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
Norris pulling a hell of a P2 out of his bag. Where did that come from? Max Verstappen choosing not to set a time for some reason. I don't really understand where that's come from. But that does mean that we get P9, whereas we would have probably got P10 if Verstappen had set any lap time. But yeah, I mean, good for Lando Norris. P2. Let's see if he can do anything in this race. That would be quite impressive. Obviously, first up, we've got practice 2, which I usually sim these ones, so I'll probably just show you the results of those. You see that Ricciardo is almost certainly winning this rivalry unless he has... Actually, no, there's no way. Because even if he has a DNF, the rivalry will end at the end of the season. I wonder if Schwartzman will make it to level 10 before the end. That would be crushing for our finances should we choose to re-sign him. But I've yet to make up my mind on that one. Practice 2 coming up next, like I said, we'll just sim through that and I'll show you all the development boosts and stuff I've got. Let me know if you don't think that this stuff is particularly relevant anymore, and perhaps we can start eliminating this part of the video. It's usually only about 20 seconds anyway, but it all adds up. If I'm adding in 20 irrelevant seconds here and there, you know, if I do that 10 times, that's what, like 4 minutes of content almost that I've added in for no reason. So here we are back in the garage, ready for the sprint to begin. Mark is just giving us our pep talk. It does look like there could be some rain, but it's unlikely because usually the weather stays pretty constant during the sprint. We can afford a major front downforce upgrade, and we're going to go for it. I don't know if the factory will be shut down by that point. We may have wasted our money for no reason because we will have to... Actually, no, I don't think that downforce is one that is getting reset at the end of the season. But anyway, I'll shut up and let Crofty talk. Oh, never mind. Is he going to say anything else? Okay, this is awkward. No, he's literally saying nothing. I thought he'd be talking during this bit. This is usually the bit where I'm quiet, maybe take a drink of something, catch my voice back up. 15 corners, some to the right and some to the left. An elevation change of 3.7 meters. Oh, now he's talking again. Fantastic. This is going really well.
Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, and Lando Norris lines up alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Russell, Perez, Carlos Sainz, and Ricciardo, Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, Robinson, and Max Verstappen, Ocon, Magnussen, Alex Albon, and Bottas, Mick Schumacher, Joe, Sebastian Vettel, and Lance Stroll, Tsunoda, Latifi, Schwartzman, and Pierre Gasly picks up the final grid slot. And with preparations almost complete, let's head trackside for today's sprint.
Obviously, penalties don't get applied until the actual race. They don't get applied for the sprint. We have a choice of mediums or hards. Mediums look like they will be absolutely fine to go 12 laps. So that's what we're going to be starting on. Onto the formation lap, and it's going to be Alonso who we're going to be battling off the outset, and probably Verstappen and Ocon as well, I imagine. Verstappen will probably challenge us immediately into turn 1. You've seen what my starts are like in this game. I had that one good start in Bahrain, and I just assumed I was a good starter, and then since then we've pretty much had nothing. So yeah, I think getting good starts is going to be unlikely in this race especially. It's usually when we're on better tyres that we can get a better start. Lining up on the grid slot, we'll see, can we get it into the purple? 0.1. Alright, here we go. The lights, they come on. And the lights go out. Here we go. It's actually a very good launch, and we're already challenging Alonso as we go on the run down to turn 1. But through the second phase, as always, he's faster. I have to get out of it because I could see the collision with him coming from a mile away. And now we've lost out to Verstappen, and we're battling with Magnussen quite significantly as we go through the center S's. He's probably going to come back at us into the at the end of this straight as well, into the corner, I imagine. You see, he is challenging us. We're going to have to take a pretty wide line to give us enough room to get through the corner, both me and him. Kevin Magnussen obviously starting P1 in the sprint in real life, but I think he was in about this position by the time that we got to these corners in real life as well, which was unfortunate, but that's just the nature of being in a Haas and being on pole. But all things considered, only losing 1 place off the start, it's pretty good. Obviously it's the sprint, so they only hand out points to the top 8, so if we want to get a point in this sprint, we're going to have to finish 8th or higher. That's going to involve overtaking an Alpine, and if I was looking at the cars ahead, probably a McLaren. I think that's the McLaren of Daniel Ricciardo, because Lando Norris is currently in P1. He actually jumped Leclerc off the start, and he is leading the Formula 1 sprint, so good for him. Now we're on to lap 4.
We're expecting rain in about 10 to 15 minutes. I've got some information on the Hamilton for you. They seem to have an issue.
So Hamilton will potentially be slow ahead, and this might hold up Fernando Alonso, who I'd quite like to close down. If I can get ahead of Hamilton and Alonso, obviously that is good enough to score 1 point, which will be good enough to fulfill the sponsor objective and get the $6 million that we're looking for. And I believe Mark said something about it being rain in 10 to 15 minutes. The race should be over by that point, so I don't think we have to worry about rain. There might be a few drops on the final lap, but other than that, I'm not too concerned. Right now, what we really want to do is we really just want to be challenging Hamilton, challenging Alonso as much as we can, trying to stay within range. We're not burning any battery at the moment, because I can predict that Hamilton's going to start holding up Alonso soon, and that's when I need to make my move. Burn a bit more battery as we come out of the center S's, just to stay within DRS range. As long as we have the DRS to them, I don't really mind. And also, we don't want to be susceptible to Magnussen behind, so burning a bit of the battery is good. Alonso goes out wide there as he tries to overtake Hamilton. I don't know if he locked up or something like that, but that has allowed us to get back into P9, which is where we started this race. And now we're going to potentially try and close down Hamilton to see if we can get into the points paying positions for the sprint race. This would be ideal if we could grab a point in the sprint. It means I don't have to worry about the race. Obviously I do anticipate that I will be starting higher in the race once people's penalties get applied, but I don't want to run that risk. So if I can consolidate a point in this race, in this sprint, that would be like the dream scenario. The worst case scenario would be not scoring a point here, because Abu Dhabi, I think I have a very slim chance of scoring points. Alonso comes back at us as we come into the first corner, but as I exit the center S's, I just managed to squeeze him out and maintain position. He will have DRS here, but so will I. I'm burning a lot of battery though to sort of keep him at bay. He doesn't go for a move this time, so this allows us to stay with Hamilton for a change. That's one of my worst, the things I hate the most about this game is definitely when you're closing down a car in front and then a car behind starts challenging you and you lose time because they keep being really aggressive into the corners. That really annoys me, because it's like, great, I was looking at potentially making up a place, and not only am I not going to be making up that place, I'm going to be losing a place. And if they hold you up too much, it can even make you susceptible to multiple cars behind you at the same time, because they're all gaining on you while you're battling with the AI. Obviously the AI battles one another from time to time in this game, but it's not all the time that happens. Obviously we saw it with Ricciardo and Norris in Mexico. If you watched my last video, if you haven't, I really would recommend watching it. We try and go on a move for Hamilton round the outside, but he locks up, and so we switch back to the inside. But now Alonso is right up our chuff, and we're not going to have any DRS. He's 1/10 behind. There's no way we hold this with no battery. So it's a position gained and a position lost. But he goes a tiny bit wide because he's on the inside of the corner, and he gives us just enough room to sneak through. I think we did make a tiny bit of contact. And they make contact, is what I believe Crofty would be saying right now. But we do manage to hold on to P8 for now with 5 laps to go. I really, really want to hold this position for all it's worth, but we got 5 laps to go and my battery is basically dead. With no DRS, Alonso will be the faster car when he has DRS, or even when neither of us have DRS. It's only when I have DRS that I have the potential to keep him at bay. So I think, you know, I'm probably in danger right now. I think we could probably hold on with the battery here, but we've pretty much burned it already, and we're not even at the finish line, never mind the corner. So that's not fantastic.
Okay, so we're leading our teammate by 12.1 seconds.
In 8 laps, we have managed to build a 12-second gap to Robert Schwartzman, so that's pretty good at least. Proves that we definitely have recovered from our mid-season woes where we were struggling against him. I feel like I haven't raced him in a little while now. I feel like I have comfortably been the #1 driver. I wanted to do the same thing I did last lap to Alonso there, but he didn't leave quite as much room on the inside to do it. I tried having a look for a split second, and I realized I was going to plow straight into the back of him if I tried. And so, yeah, in the end, I decided not to go for the move, and we'll stay P9 for now. Come on to lap 10 and you see that Hamilton is back within range of me quite significantly. I think his issue has resolved itself.
ERS software glitch.
And yeah, now we can't burn any battery because we have an ERS problem. So that's not ideal, even if we don't have much battery to begin with. If we can't burn any, Alonso is going to start pulling away from us. That's going to mean no DRS in the future, and that's going to mean Hamilton will be able to size up a move before you know it, I imagine. If he's got battery and DRS and we've got no battery and no DRS, that's going to be a significant issue. We might even be susceptible to Bottas before the end of the race, because on paper he should have more pace than us. Obviously in reality I do feel like I wring the neck of this car each and every race weekend, but you know, we're gonna have to wait and see what happens at the end of this sprint. There's just over 2 laps remaining. Once we cross this finish line, there'll be 2 laps left to go, and yeah, I think it's looking pretty unlikely that I'm going to be scoring points. Alonso's broken DRS. I actually think I checked my tyre wear at some point. You can see it on there. I thought it was going to be worse than it was based on how much I was struggling around these corners, but I guess we're just having issues. So we've managed to save up quite a lot of battery by the time that the issue fixed itself. We're up to 50%, which means we're going to be able to push on the battery for the rest of the race, but we don't manage to get back in range with Hamilton as we come round through the final corners here. He's already broken DRS. I guess they must have just looked after their tyres more than I did or something. I don't really know. Ocon and Bottas have more than fallen away. Lando Norris does win the sprint, so congratulations to him. Now do it in a real race is all I'll say. And yeah, that was good enough for P10. We pretty much finished where we started. After the first corner we were P10, and it was P10 to end. So I'm not too unhappy with that. If we can hold on to that for a race, that's going to be points. So yeah, that's the goal here. Max Verstappen gets driver of the day. Norris wins. First time sprint race winner. Obviously in real life we had a first time sprint race winner who became a first time race winner. We'll see if the same rings true in the race coming up next.
The World Constructors Championship. The grid is set then, so that just leaves the race itself. Join us tomorrow where we'll be live with all the action. And until then, goodbye.
Obviously the championship itself is pretty wrapped up at this point, but I believe that the hunt for P2, which is, if I'm not mistaken, is between Russell and Sainz. I believe that's still on, so yeah, there's a lot to still be decided here. Obviously we've still got our P9 fight to be decided. I think we're in a fight with Albon and Stroll for something like P16 in the championship or something like that. I don't think we're going to have a look at the standings. I think we'll probably look at that after the race itself. But yeah, all things considered, that was definitely a pretty fun sprint. We just make it into level 12, so now we're going to be gaining more acclaim for the team every time we go out during the race. And if we do well, that's going to bring a bigger boost to the team's acclaim, which is always going to be good. But yeah, next up it is time for the race, which is hopefully where I'm going to score my second consecutive points, I hope. We got another email from Mark. No rain really expected for this race, but you know, anything can happen, so let's get into it.
Formula One returns to Interlagos once again with the stage set for what promises to be another classic Sao Paulo Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel famously clinched his third championship here in 2012, and just 4 years later, Max Verstappen treated us to one of the finest wet weather drives of all time. It's an unusual anti-clockwise race here at Interlagos, where the Sao Paulo locals are packed into the grandstands at each of the 15 corners around this classic 2.7-mile circuit. Two very fast sections bookend the famous and highly technical Sector 2, where getting a good run out of Junsao into one of the two DRS zones will be key to any overtaking prospects today. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Lando Norris will lead us away from pole position, edging out Sergio Perez, who lines up P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Hamilton, Russell. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Robinson and Ocon. Ricciardo, they've taken a grid penalty. Bottas, Verstappen and Charles Leclerc. Albon, Joe, Lance Stroll and Tsunoda. Fernando Alonso, Gasly, Mick Schumacher and Robert Schwartzman. Latifi, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Vettel, Sainz and Kevin Magnussen fills the last spot on the grid. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you with us here, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn one, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Well. If you want to know how ridiculous the penalties are in this race, you just have to see that Perez had a penalty and is starting second. It does mean that we're promoted to P5, which is a pretty good place to start if we want to score some points. We will have some hard chargers coming through behind us. I believe Verstappen had a penalty. Both Ferraris had a penalty. We're definitely not out of the woods yet. But, we also have the likes of Ocon, Ricciardo, I believe that's Bottas P8. We really do have a good shot of scoring points here if we can just keep it together. I think it's a 36 lap race. It's going to be a long and arduous task. And we're going to have to make sure that we've got the strategy spot on. But, even if we only score 1 point in this race, that is enough to get $6 million for the team. We get a pretty good parking once again. Not quite as good as before, but, I'll take it. I'll be happy with that. So here we go. The grid's lining up. It's taken a while because we're so high up for a change. Here we go. We'll see if we can make anything happen with this. The lights come on. And after an eternity, the lights go out and we immediately have a DRS fault. So let's hope that resolves itself within the next couple of laps, or we're going to have some trouble. Ocon goes for a bit of a send on the inside of me down into the first corner. We almost go straight into the back of Russell, George Russell and Carlos Sainz at Cota style. But we managed to keep it clean. And we've held position through the first couple of corners, so that's pretty good. We'll see what we can do. Russell, Norris, Hamilton all battling significantly. Sergio Perez in the meantime has taken the lead of the race. He's had a grid penalty and on lap 1 he's in first. It's Max Verstappen reincarnate. We're looking at potentially making a move around the outside of Hamilton. It was a bit of a half-assed one, but I stayed in it for quite a while. I even thought about going up the inside of him for the next corner. Not a particularly conventional overtaking spot, but I'm trying to get everything I can in this race, and ideally, what I really want to do is I want to break a second gap to the cars around me, because I've got no DRS. I'm not going to be able to fight the cars in front, and I'm going to be super susceptible to the cars behind, even if I am within a second of the cars in front. So, yeah, that's what we want to do. We need to race like this DRS fault is going to be with us all race. We try and squeeze Ricciardo a little bit there, but he still goes for the move. We get a warning for exceeding track limits. You could argue I left the track and gained an advantage there, but the stewards have decided to look the other way on this occasion. We've got a 1 second gap advantage over Ricciardo right now. Will he size up the move? We closed the door nice and early and he can't. So we're holding on to P5 for now, but we've already fallen out of DRS range of the cars in front. You see we're on to lap 4 now, and my DRS has still not fixed itself. All I can fight with is the battery. I think I've decided to cut my losses at this point because I'm not burning it. There goes Ricciardo steaming past with battery and DRS, but he goes a bit wide, and we actually try and do what we did to Alonso during the sprint. It doesn't quite work on this occasion, unfortunately, and now we've been left a little bit in the lurch, and Ocon only 2 tenths behind us, Verstappen only 5 tenths behind him. We're going to have to do everything we can in this race to hold on to the position we find ourselves in, still with no DRS as we come onto lap 5 now. And Ocon's going to have a little bit of a look up our inside as we go down into the, I believe that's turn 4. Yeah, nothing bad has ever happened to that corner, I'm sure. Yeah, this is, he's actually trying to get me back to the fast right-hander there. This is very scary right now, and we've already lost DRS range to Ricciardo. We do have a bit of a problem. I don't know if that was him repeating the DRS issue or whether that was something else, but we'll have to persevere as if there's no issue. Like I said, obviously we have to race like this DRS fault is going to be with us all race. Hopefully it will redeem itself soon and we can actually start fighting with the cars around us. Obviously Ricciardo's broken the DRS to us, but if we can get back in range with him.
Okay, looks like a mechanical failure. We're going to have to ask you to find a safe spot to retire. Sorry about that, mate. Again, find somewhere safe to stop. We need you to retire.
I got no words, you know. This was the chance, and probably the last chance, I would say. Realistically, we have one more chance, but I think that was the best one we were going to get. So, yeah, absolutely gutting to have a mechanical failure there. That's gonna impact our entire next season.
Brilliant stuff from McLaren today. What a superb victory. Talk to me, Ants. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we can talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those we witnessed today.
Our drivers are making their way out for the podium celebrations, and it's going to be McLaren picking up the winner's trophy. Congratulations to the entire team for that fantastic performance.
In the words of John McEnroe, you cannot be serious. First of all, how is it that Verstappen ended up on the podium and not Perez? Second of all, congratulations to Norris for winning his first race. I shouldn't have goaded him. I knew this was going to happen after I goaded him. And third of all, now we are going to have to take a replacement engine component, which is going to give us a grid penalty for Abu Dhabi, which means we're going to be starting low down in a race I already am not particularly strong at. And 6 million points is right. $6 million rather is riding on me getting points in that race.
With pinpoint precision has to be commended.
So then, Ferrari have now moved out of sight and out of reach. It's another triumph for the Italian team as they claim the World Constructors' Championship. Well, what an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
Even worse, Albon scored a point. And we know what that means. It means he's now 1 point behind us. So if he gets a point in the next race, I think we do hold on to it. But if he gets 2 points in the next race, that's P9 and the championship gone. So we need to really watch out for that. We need to make sure that we finish ahead of the Williamses. Daniel Ricciardo has won this rivalry by quite a significant margin. So that's going to be at least one thing working in our favor, is turning the difficulty down a little bit for Abu Dhabi. We're back on a claim level 11 now, and Schwartzman is very close to a claim level 10. I really hope he doesn't make it, but I think that's only going to happen if he has a mechanical failure. Yeah, a lot riding on the next race. I'm glad that we somehow got both of those targets, even though it's not true. And yeah, all I can hope is that it's a good time next time. And until then, hopefully I will see you in the next one, I guess.